Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you to Yal for coming out. Thank you to Bonnie for putting all this together. She's really been the driving force behind getting this event. Oh, there we go. Bonnie's really been the driving force behind getting this event together today. And I really appreciate everyone who came out and all the time you've taken. I was 9 years old when the towers fell. So for the last 2/3 of my life, we have been at war in Afghanistan. And it's a war that I actually ended up going to fight at some point in my life. When I was 18, I joined up for the military, gung-ho, coming from a Navy family, and I went. And I served my country. At least that's what I thought I was doing. I thought I was supporting the Constitution. I thought that I was supporting our freedoms. It wasn't until a lot later that I realized, after being out of the service, after reading the declarations of war that Osama bin Laden had signed against us, that I realized they don't hate us for our freedoms. They don't. They don't hate us because of apple pie. They don't hate the Boston Red Sox. They don't even hate women in miniskirts. What they hate is the foreign policy that has been killing their families, their friends, for generations. That's what they hate about the United States. They don't hate those of us who are here today calling for an end to it. They hate the leaders of the murderous cult that we call the military-industrial complex. They hate the people who have been using their homeland and their holy lands as target practice. And so to anyone who is currently serving or has served, I want you to know that you're not my enemy. You're my brother. You're my sister. We're part of a very small family that only a few understand. But I want you to also understand that you have the right to say no to war. You have the right to become a conscientious objector and realize that these wars do not warrant American money. They do not warrant American blood. And the second that you stand up and tell your commanding officers that you do not want to engage in these wars anymore, you're going to have a long fight ahead of you. It's not going to be easy. I understand. But what also isn't easy is having to live with the regret of knowing that what you did was unconscionable. Currently, the United States has troops deployed in at least 6 different countries for combat zones. And that's just the ones that they tell us about, let alone the black ops that they run that we never hear of. Right now in Syria, we have about 900 troops. Does anyone know why we have troops in Syria?
No.
Does anyone know what American interests?
Corporate profit!
Yes. Corporate profit and political want. Our politicians have personal and political vendettas that they need to carry out in the Middle East. That's why we're there. This entire situation, the entire Afghan war, the entire Iraq war, us going into Pakistan, us going into Syria, us building bases in Niger that we then use to surveil the entire Middle East. This is not what the Founding Fathers had thought of when they were establishing a standing military. This is what the Founding Fathers warned us against when they established a standing military. So today I am asking every single one of you who is here to continue your fight in ending the war state. Continue your fight in ending these heinous wars that we are conducting, and to just be there for each other when it starts to crumble. Because we as libertarians, we as anti-war activists, we understand that these wars are wrong, but a lot of people don't. You know, I was on the George Hale, Rick Tyler show yesterday morning, and I love talking with those gentlemen. They always treat me fair. But you can really tell by the comments in the comment section that people are not willing to listen to anti-war sentiment. And not only are they not willing to listen, but they're willing to start throwing you down and calling you names before they've even listened to your 14-minute interview. They're willing to say things like, you need to serve your country before you get a say. Well, I did. I went to Afghanistan. I went to Africa. I've been there. I've done it. And that's why I can stand here knowing full well what these wars are and tell you that we should not be in them. And with that, I just want to thank all of you who are here today saying no to war and ask you to keep up the fight and keep up the resolve. Because it doesn't end with one small protest. It doesn't end with one piece of legislation. It's going to take generations to undo all of the work that the war state, that the empire has done. American lives are not worth the American empire. And that's what we are becoming. Right now, we have troops in more than 3 times as many countries as the Roman Empire did. And we know why the Roman Empire fell, right? They expanded too much. They couldn't help their citizens anymore. They were taxing people too high to pay for their wars, and they ended up crumbling. If you don't want that to happen to the United States, your only choice is to start voting for anti-war candidates. And with that, I am happy to announce that I will be running for District 122 House of Representatives right by Tyler, so that we can get the Defend the Guard legislation in. And so that once it's in, we have a fighting chance of getting it passed. Because as I saw the last time this went up, the sentiment is on our side. The average person wants to end the wars. They want to bring the troops home. The brass in the military doesn't. The generals with the stars don't. But we do. So it's we who dare to say no to war that must get in office and start ending this murderous cult that we have come to know as our military-industrial complex. Thank you for being here.